Okay, so we're going to get started with our mindset mastery session for today. So today is our first day back from our holiday, and we're kicking it off with making sure that our minds are right for our French learning. We know that I shared very often with our French learning, especially as adults, the blocker always happens up here. This is the blocker. This is the blocker. So we're looking on a weekly basis to address that and combat that. Once we get a strong mind, we know that anything is really possible. So today we're going to talk about building grit and embracing challenges in French. Now we went live on IG just to include them in our mindset mastery session. So, good evening if you are watching. And the whole objective of today's lesson is really to teach students to view challenges in language learning as opportunities to grow resilience and determination. So, we have learners in our community who are very focused on maybe accelerating career by language acquisition, others who may have children who are in French programs and they're like, I can't help them. So they use these classes, or people who are just curious and knowledge seekers who set goals and set different, it's not a resolution, but just set something they want to start doing at a certain time of the year. So we use these sessions just to make sure that you are encouraged and motivated to keep going. So in terms of what we're going to cover today. So I want to start with a little bit of a warm up and just ask, what is one challenge you faced while learning French? So feel free to share with me, Alicia, just what's one challenge, if you could narrow it down.
The pronunciation and keeping up with all of the I don't know what the term for it would be, but I guess like the fillers.
Got it. Okay, so in French, maybe in English you would say in French it doesn't exist, or what, like your thinking words, your yes.
No, I don't have the
Okay.
right word for it, like the la, the le, and then la, and then like
Okay,
knowing when
okay,
to use those, like the
got
mask,
it.
knowing what's masculine or feminine.
The articles, les
Yes, the
articles.
articles. Yes.
Got it. Le, la. Oh, masculine, feminine is a beast. Why? Because it's like, why is the table feminine? Who said that?
hmm
Right? It's like, well, the French said that. So it is what it is. But yes, there are little tricks there. Some things I will admit are just pure memorization, but there are little tricks where some things like the Tion ending is
hmm
more than likely a feminine word. But once again, as you become more familiar and as you explore, we'll call
hmm
out those fun patterns and those little tips and tricks. But yes,
hmm
that is a challenge. So, I mean, this is also a big one, right? So maybe you haven't overcome it yet, but I'll still want to ask, how do you feel you will overcome it if you haven't as yet? I know you're just getting started.
Um, it's a good feeling to finally understand something that in the beginning was very confusing to you.
Yeah.
So some of them I like, especially reading, I'll catch up on it a little bit more now. It's just more so listening to people speak because a lot of the times the words run into each other. So trying to really understand and trying to
Yes.
like put everything all together in your head. But slowly and surely, like I understand a little bit, especially when reading.
Yes.
So it's a good feeling.
Got it. And that is so, it's honest, it's transparent, and I appreciate that because it is a journey, right? Because sometimes you, like as a non-French speaker listening, it will sound like their whole sentence was one word, but that's really advanced because now that's the liaisons happening where the words blend together. It's really
hmm
beautiful, it's really elegant, but please understand it's a journey. So when someone is speaking that way, and you're like, I have no idea what you're saying, it's like, okay, I think a good mindset shift, a different frame would be, I'm gonna get there one day. Like, wow, that's
hmm
so beautiful. I'm gonna work towards that.
Yeah.
And even sometimes it's not even about blending uh the sentence. Maybe you can start to blend, like your next step would be to have your liaisons with two words, right? Liaisons is when the end of the word, like let's say the words les amis, the friends, right? Lesamis.
Mm-hmm.
very elegant, more advanced speakers will blend that, les amis, les amis. So it's the steps, right? One at a time.
Mm-hmm.
So I always say that challenges are very comparable to climbing a hill. Okay, it's difficult at first, but rewarding when you reach the top. So those who get to the top of the hill are the ones who are pretty real about, hey, this is tough, this is difficult, this hill is very steep,
Mm-hmm.
bumpy, but it's rewarding when you reach the top. And everyone who is taking this French learning journey with us, they are, I'm recognizing and just kind of celebrating them even getting to the climb. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so now we're going to do a little activity together for my IG fam. Sorry that you won't be able to participate, but I'm going to do an activity where we are going to be unscrambling a short French sentence. So it is challenging, but it's also meant to be achievable. If anyone is on IG and wants to get into our room, just send me a message. Maybe we'll let you in because we're doing some fun stuff. So I'm going to have you and just let me know if you guys can see. Okay. So are you able to see this new screen?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, perfect. So we're gonna play a little activity where it is unscramble the sentence. Okay. So on the screen, we have the words je, bonsoir, m'appelle, and the name Richard, but en français, it's Richard. I'm just gonna say it how I know it's said. Je, bonsoir, m'appelle Richard. So take a couple seconds or however long you need just to unscramble this. What is the right placement of these? And it's just, a beginning exercise.
I would say bonsoir, je m'appelle Richard.
Ah, super.
Je bonsoir m'appelle Richard.
Okay, so that's just giving us what the scramble is, and let's flip it. Excellent. Bonsoir, je m'appelle Richard. Excellent. So this is literally just even this is a little bit of a lesson in greetings as well. So it just happens we are in the bonsoir time of the day as well. So that is just another lesson reminder there when we are doing introductions or greetings. Very I'm not even going to call it formal. It's just very respectful French. Will acknowledge the time of the day. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now we have pas, toi, mal, et, as in et and. Okay. Let's hear how they sound.
Pas toi mal est.
It's so fast. Pas, toi, mal, et. So what is the right order?
All right.
Okay.
I would say ma, pa, et toi, I think.
Did you go pas mal et toi?
Yes.
Okay.
I know ma. Oh, yeah.
You did it. You did it. So this is in a little bit way a little tricky, but not meant to be. But pas mal et toi, it's kind of like two sentences, but it's exactly as you said it. But it's considered two pieces because it's like not bad and you, right? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so even understanding, even in French, the breakdowns as we do the small little exercise, they're lessons in themselves because it's teaching us even the flow of how something would go. Like you just say pas mal et toi. I mean, you could if you're like a fast speaker, but it is two different thoughts. Okay.
Okay.
Next one. Très, merci, bien, et vous.
Um, it looks like it's in the right order.
Oh, let's hear them.
Très merci bien et vous.
Okay. Again. Très, merci, bien, et vous.
Oh, très bien, merci, et vous.
Let's flip it. Yeah. Okay, so it's très bien, merci. Et vous. Once again, okay, this needs an accent grave on the back to make the très sound, sound, but that is exactly it. Très bien, merci. Very well. Thank you. And you? Very good. We have two more. Oh no, we can't see the remaining cards. Okay, but that was a fun activity. It's funny, some of our IG fam was participating, so that was fun. Okay. So it's just they're very funny people who follow me. Okay. So we're going to now talk about, ideally this would be done in like a small team, but it is important, like the whole persistence of it all, because it's it's very much about tackling the challenge. Obviously those are like fun little intro ones, but there does come a time where the French, it's feeling French, right? And if you're not in the French zone, you're like, what is this? Why is this? So it's about tackling the challenge and then figuring out what strategies are used to succeed. So I'm pretty sure in the moment you were making sense, number one, of what each word meant, right?
Mhm.
First step. And then, okay, well, in French, it's a little bit tricky. I know you have your Duolingo background, which is really cool.
Yeah.
But it's so good. But then you have to figure out, okay, French, sometimes things are backwards. So placing it in the right order
Yeah.
for it to make sense in French. So that's really impressive that you could get through that activity and not get stuck, right? And even if it's like, okay, let me just rearrange something else and make it make sense. Okay. So when I spoke about today's topic, I mentioned that it was talking about the word grit. Grit is a word, some people use it, some people do not use it. But I wanted to share a video that's going to explain the concept of grit and how sticking with challenges, okay, is what leads to growth. And this is a perfect complement to what we're talking about today. So I will share that video, okay? And to our IG peeps, you may not be able to see it, and that is a-okay because you're not in the room, but you can listen in. Okay, so here we go.
I recently read the book Grit by Angela Duckworth. Angela's a psychologist at the University of Pennsylvania, and she's obsessed with finding out the answer to the question, who's successful and why? She's conducted studies involving national spelling bee champions, elite military training graduates, and top corporate salespeople to determine what was the biggest predictor of their success. She wondered, was it talent or was it effort? Now, our society would have us believe that it would be talent. We have the tendency to marvel at natural talent and overlook the importance of effort. Surveys show that we commend people who put in the effort, but we don't actually believe it can compete with natural talent. We often discount our own abilities when going up against people who have a higher IQ or appear more naturally gifted. But Angela has found the following to be true in study after study. Where talent counts once, effort counts twice. Angela explains this using a simple formula. Talent times effort equals skill, and skill times effort equals achievement. When you apply effort to any base level talent, you get skill. When you apply effort to skill, you get achievement. The science shows that grit, the sustained application of effort towards a long-term goal, is the biggest predictor of lifelong achievement. For some, it's an inconvenient truth. Certain people like to see natural talent and use it as an excuse as to why they would never achieve what those people can, and don't even bother trying in the first place. But for others, it can be liberating, knowing that they're not doomed to mediocrity due to a lack of talent. If they put in the effort, they can achieve great things. Sure, there are some limitations. All of us can't make the NBA. We're not all 6'9". But you could become one of the best players in your local basketball league. By remembering that talent counts once, effort counts twice, we can be hopeful that we can one day become more than we think we can, that we can achieve great things despite not winning the talent lottery. But being gritty is hard. Resisting endless temptations to quit or experiencing failure is extremely difficult to deal with. But Angela says we all have the ability to grow our grit if we direct our focus in 4 specific ways. First, develop a fascination with what you're trying to do. Second, strive to improve each day. Third, remind yourself of the greater purpose. And fourth, adopt a growth mindset. Charles Darwin admitted to not having great quickness of apprehension. To discover the mysteries of natural science without possessing supernatural intelligence, Darwin developed an obsessive fascination and was said to keep questions alive in the back of his mind, questions that related to what he was observing that drove him to discover the connection between all living things. His deep interest in the natural sciences and constant questioning led him to the breakthrough that we now know as the theory of evolution. So what questions are most intriguing to you? Find the questions that fascinate you, and you'll find the capacity to stay gritty while trying to achieve something great. Next, aim to improve yourself every single day. Compete with who you were yesterday. Olympic gold medal swimmer Rowdy Gaines once said, "At every practice, I would try to beat myself. If my coach gave me 10 100-meter swims one day and asked me to hold it to 1 minute and 15 seconds, the next day, he would give me 10 100-meter swims and I would try to hold it to 1 minute and 14 seconds. Angela says that the refrain of all paragons of grit is that whatever it takes, I want to improve. It doesn't matter how excellent they already are. So how can you carve out time each day to push your abilities and seek constant and never-ending improvement? The third way to grow our grit is to remind ourselves of the greater purpose. Angela conducted a survey of 16,000 adult Americans to determine what was a bigger contributor of grit, obtaining a feeling of pleasure or feeling a greater sense of purpose. She found that people on the upper half of her grit scale experienced a similar level of pleasure in what they were doing, but she found that higher levels of purpose directly correlated to higher levels of grit. Angela says, the most gritty people see their ultimate aims as deeply connected to the world beyond themselves. You could be a bricklayer simply laying the bricks for a cathedral, or you could be a bricklayer building the house of God. It's largely up to you to determine what purpose or greater meaning your work has. Whatever you come up with has the capacity to raise your level of grit. The last way to grow your grit is to develop a growth mindset. Bill McNabb, the past CEO of Vanguard, the world's largest provider of mutual funds, interviewed leaders within the organization to see who were successful and who weren't. He found that long-term success was dependent on a core belief. Those who believe that I can't learn anymore, I am what I am, this is how I do things, routinely failed to move up to a senior level. To be gritty, you need to scrap the theory that your abilities are fixed, because it's simply not true. Neuroscience has shown that we have an enormous capacity to change our brains and learn new skills as we get older. The brain is plastic, and you can mold it through sustained effort and experience. Reflect on a time when you started something new that you were scared you couldn't learn, but you actually did. Use the memory of that experience to disrupt any beliefs that your abilities are fixed. In the end, Angela says that learning to stick to something is a life skill that we can all develop. By remembering that the science shows that grit matters more than talent, and that we all have the capacity to grow our grit, we can develop the confidence to start taking action despite how untalented we think we are. That was the core message that I gathered from Angela's book. She has much more material to help you understand the science of achievement. I highly recommend it. If you would like it.
All right, so that was our, I think, pretty powerful video on grit. Interested to hear your thoughts and your feedback on what you took away from that. I find it, honestly, and I'm going to be posting it on our community board just for everyone to keep that, honestly. It's something I think is worthwhile to review more than once. So curious to hear from you, Alicia. What were your thoughts on that?
I really liked it. I feel like it was very motivational. It was a lot of what he said was true. It's good to hear those things because sometimes you need that reminder to continue studying or to continue striving to reach that goal. Because sometimes you do get to the point where you feel, what's the word, unmotivated, or you feel,
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to find the other word. Yeah, let's just say I'm motivated for now.
Yeah,
Sometimes you do get to that point, and it's good to be reminded, have that reminder to just continue to keep on going, because eventually you'll get to the point that you need to be.
absolutely. And you know what? I think the first step is really kind of just understanding like what starting point are you at? And even in that video with Grit, like understanding like, hey, like I loved that almost reality check. He said, guess what? Everyone is not going to go to the NBA, period. Right? Everyone's not going to
Mhm.
become this French politician where you're going to present fully bilingual French English. No, like there's sometimes these I believe in irrational goals, and I'm not calling it irrational, but I believe in like having obnoxious goals. That's how the way I dream, and that's the way I operate my life. But I also believe
Mhm.
understanding there's different versions of that. So I don't have to be the NBA, but can I be the best this in Canada, in North America? Yeah, like right. So it is about
Mhm.
maybe dreaming and understanding there's different views to what a reality could be. So grit is definitely about the effort behind it. Yes,
Mhm.
people, we are born with natural gifts, but we've got to pour in. We've got to seek out opportunities to kind of mold and grow that gift. And that's where the effort is two times more valuable than the talent. Okay. So
Mhm.
I want you to, just as a reflection piece, and it's not anything you have to share. I'm gonna also put this as a challenge for everyone to do for this coming week is just to write down. It doesn't have to be in a formalized journal, but just like if you use your phone app, I want you guys to write down what is one challenge you're facing in French right now. Okay.
Mhm.
And then I want you to share, well, also write what small steps can you take to persist through it. Okay. I'm not going to ask for the share today. I'm not going to ask for it. But the question is, what is one challenge you're facing in French right now? And what small steps can you take to persist through it? Now, I will, yep, let you do that. And then as we wind down, it's very important that I always leave you guys with something, a little takeaway, something. So for today, that is going to be I want you to identify a small French challenge to tackle this week. Now, everyone in our community, there's people who live in French speaking places that are in this community. Sometimes their challenge looks different than what maybe you would do or someone else would do, and that's okay. But just some
Mhm.
examples would be reading a short article, practicing a tough verb conjugation. I'm even going to, you know what? What I shared with you for the game, I might send you that link because you can practice on your own. Because that's
Okay. Yeah,
like,
I'll take
yeah,
that.
so that would be fun. And then we're going to talk about it and just track your progress, okay? And reflect on how it builds your grit because I think too often we're focused on just the wrong aspect of what it really takes to gain improvements and to become good at something when we can see that it's comprised of so many things, right? The growth mindset, understanding the greater purpose, okay? Knowing
Mhm.
that daily improvement, okay? There's a 1% rule. If you can improve on something 1% a day, it's a game changer, okay? And
Mhm.
then developing a fascination, be truly interested in in making what you say you want to do happen. Be
Mhm.
really fascinated by it. Don't just say it for the sake of, yeah, I want to learn French, but it's like, well, are you observing things around you? Are you like, as you walk on your daily life, are you kind of seeing some patterns and just your awareness is different because you're fascinated by language, right? And your
Mhm.
ear is opened and it's tuned and all that fun stuff. So I just want to encourage you to, yeah, take note of where that grit conversation is happening internally for you. I want to thank you guys for joining, who were online with us today for our mindset. What is this called? Mindset Mastery
Mastery, yeah.
Thursday. Wow, Elise, right? So I want to thank you guys. And yeah, for those who are in our community, we invite you to just focus and review the grit video, as I said. And for anyone who is watching us online, if you are interested in joining our adult French learning community, it's called the French Fluency Academy, then send us a message. We are always open to having you join that safe space where you can practice and get amazing at French. Okay, so take care. Have a good evening. That was a little, yeah. So I want to thank you, Elise.